Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei become the greatest Sekiryuutei? Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. The greatest Sekiryuutei of all time. Issei Hayato was always a strange kid. Upon his birth he didn't cry. He never did. At least not for himself. He never shed a tear when he had to grow up without a mother or father because they were killed for being in a forbidden angel and devil relationship while he was just a baby, forcing him to live with his aunt. He didn't cry when he was labeled the Abomination in the supernatural world and hunted down by fallen angels, stray exorcists, and devils. All before even turning 5. And when one fallen angel had cut his angel and devil wings from his back, the only tears he shed were from pain. Issei didn't cry for himself or his awful situation. The only time he truly felt overtaken by sadness was when his adopted stray cat, which he had named Mitten, was killed by a fallen exorcist right in front of him. In a fit of rage he had activated something called a sacred gear and killed all the exorcists and angels who tried to attack him and his aunt. Issei could still remember vividly the loud screech of pain Mitten had made before her death. The sobbing that lasted for hours as he had to flee with his aunt back into hiding. After that event his aunt Yuzu decided that it was time to stop running. While the two were hiding out in an abandoned building, she made a call to someone with a magic circle. Within an hour a handsome man with green hair appeared right before them through a magic circle in the ground. Issei hid behind his aunt assuming it was another attacker, but his aunt's hand on his shoulder signaled him to relax. "Calm down darling, Ajuka is a friend," Yuzu said, barely calming the boy down as Ajuka assessed him as he were an expensive piece of art. As Ajuka looked at the boy he could immediately see hints of his demonic heritage. A few examples would be the small red horns growing from his forehead. The lizard-like tail that was about the size of his leg. The pointed ears, plus a few fangs in his mouth. Not to mention the fact that the boy had 4 arms instead of 2. He also took notice of how thin and pale the boy was. Obviously from malnutrition. After taking in the boy's appearance he could in fact see why the boy was labeled the Abomination. Not that he agreed with the title. As he stared at the boy some more Ajuka picked up on the 2 opposing auras within the child. He could see the demonic and angelic energy deep within his core. But for some reason that wasn't all he picked up on. Ajuka had many questions, but for now his primary concern was getting Yuzu and Issei to safety. "Would you like to come home with me Issei, you will be safe there. I swear on my life." As he said that Ajuka extended out to the boy. Issei just looked at the hand confused as to what he was supposed to do with it, causing Ajuka to give up on it for now. "We should leave now, you two will be safe with me." As the Mao finished his sentence he opened a teleportation circle filling the dark room with green light. Ajuka took notice of how cautious Issei was around him, but put that in the back of his mind for now. As the light faded the trio found themselves in a large hallway. Issei immediately started observing his surroundings for any threats. When he found none he relaxed a bit. "I'll take you to your room. I insist that you make yourself at home." As Ajuka and Aunt Yuzu talked, Issei observed the various art that was hung on the hallways. Intrigued by the beautiful colors and scenery before him. "Do you like that one?" Ajuka asked the young boy. Noticing his observation of a painting that depicted 2 dragons fighting while surrounded by angels, devils, and fallen. "It looks pretty cool is all." Issei mumbled barely audible. "It does doesn't it? That red dragon there is Drag and the white one is Albion. Those 2 were the 2 heavenly dragons, both very powerful and important. If you want I can tell you more about them tomorrow." Issei simply nodded without making eye contact as they continued to the room. Upon making it there he was in shock to realize how big the room he'd be sharing with his aunt was. They've never stayed in any place half the size of it before. "My Ajuka, you sure know how to spoil a woman." Yuzu teased rubbing her hand through Issei's messy hair. "I'll have the chefs prepare a meal for you two while you both shower. Just call me when you're ready." As the Gremory left Issei finally let his guard down. Turning over to his aunt he asked softly. "Are we really going to be living here? I've never seen a house so big before." Yuzu smiled down at her nephew. Bringing him into a hug. "Yes we will be living here for a while. You have nothing to worry about dear. Ajuka and I go way back." Issei was put at ease by her statement and prepared to take a shower. Even the bathroom was huge in this house. 30 minutes later Issei sat next to his aunt in the dining room he had ever seen, while Ajuka sat across from them. His aunt and Ajuka talked while Issei stuffed his face with the best food he has ever had since, well the best food he had ever. Finally done eating, Yuzu and Issei retreated to the guest room to sleep. As they did Issei passed out from the exhaustion he was feeling. As Issei slept he suddenly felt hot. Opening his eyes he saw nothing but fire. Quickly jumping up he looked for his aunt but saw nothing but flames. He quickly started to panic until a powerful voice spoke to him from behind. "Relax child. You're not in danger, I simply brought you here to have a word with my new host. Looking up, Issei saw a massive red dragon standing right over him. Fear started to settle in his stomach as he took a few steps back. You're Drag. The dragon from the painting. Why are you here? It seems my reputation precedes me. Well, since you know who I am, this will be easier to explain. I am here because you hold in you a sacred gear. Unlike any regular sacred gear, you have a Lingenus, which contains my soul within it. Issei processed the information with a dumbfounded look on his face. He knew he had a sacred gear because that was what one of the fallen angels mentioned while he was ramping. He didn't know that the red gauntlet he had contained such a powerful creature in it, however. By me, I'm just a freak. I can't be the Red Dragon Emperor. Drake studied the boy before him, planning his next words. Little did the boy know he watched Issei his entire life. He saw all the attempts made to kill the 5-year-old. As well as all the insults and berating done in the process. It's because you're a freak that you should be chosen. I have no choice in who gets my sacred gear, but 9 times out of 10 it's a human who ends up going mad with power. You, however, are different. You are a freak of nature who already contains massive potential, and you have a heart of gold. With my help, the entire world will know and fear the name Issei Hayato. What if I don't want people to be scared of me? I'm tired of people hating me. I just want to make friends. Oh, trust me, boy. You'll attract many friends and lovers. But you also attract even more enemies than you currently have. That's just the nature of being a dragon, especially one as powerful as I am. But don't you worry, kid, under my tutelage you will be the most powerful Red Dragon Emperor that has ever lived. I promise you that. Heck, you're already on track for that anyway. Not one of my hosts have ever unlocked the sacred gear at just 5 years of age. Do you really think I can be as great as you say I can? The question brought a sharp smile to the dragon's face. I don't merely think this, kid. I know it is fact. Walk with your head high from now on, boy, because you're no longer just the Abomination, you're Issei Hayato, the strongest Sekiryuutei who has ever lived. Bragg's words echoed as everything became black all of a sudden. In the real world, Issei snapped awake in bed. His aunt right by his side sleeping peacefully. That was the weirdest dream I ever had. Issei mumbled to himself. A dull green light from one of his right arms alerted him to something. His top left arm covered in a gauntlet. The red scaly gauntlet seemed bigger than it had been last time, reaching all the way to his elbow. It was no mere dream, boy. Since our souls are intertwined, I can speak to you while you sleep and while you're awake. The powerful voice of the red dragon from Issei's dream had followed him. Talking from his gauntlet. Issei was freaking out, not knowing what to do in the situation. Before he could come up with a solution, his aunt awoke from her slumber. Issei, darling, who are you talking to? Wait, is that the boosted gear? Issei nervously played with his hair as Drake laughed at his situation. How am I gonna explain this, the brunette boy wondered to himself. I don't own shit. Issei Hayato sat down in a soft chair in the library of Ajuka Beelzebub while his aunt Yuzu paced back and forth, murmuring unintelligible words under her breath. Since finding out about her nephew being the Red Dragon Emperor, she had seemed to be in a state of panic. On the other hand, Ajuka himself just seemed very intrigued. He took in the information silently, then planned his next move from there. It had been 25 minutes since either of them had said a word to him, and Issei was beginning to get rather bored. Can someone please say something? I can. Drake chimed in. Not you. Issei practically hissed back at the dragon. At that moment, Issei remembered something his aunt had told him a couple months back, which didn't quite make sense. And Yuzu, I thought you said sacred gears were gifted to humans. How come I have one? A valid question, considering that usually sacred gears didn't end up in the hands of those with pointed ears, horns and multiple arms. It seemed impossible that he should receive one. Well, yes and no. Sacred gears, while often blessed to complete humans, can be gifted to anyone with human DNA. Me and your mother are half devil, half human after all. Our father was shamed by the Asmodeus household for breeding with a human lover. Us still, Ajuka chimed in. It's incredibly rare for this to occur. This makes things a little more difficult than before. You already had a target on your back for being the Abomination, but now this. I fear for how dangerous your future will be. Upon hearing the Mayu's words, Issei looked down, a contemplative expression worn on his face. Damn it, Ajuka, would you have to go and put it like that? You scared him. Argued Yuzu. I merely let him know the truth of his situation. He can't afford not to be cautious right now when there are so many threats to his safety. It's fine. I know the danger that lies before me, but I don't want to run anymore. I don't want to let them win anymore. I'm going to get stronger so I can protect myself and Aunt Yuzu. I'm not gonna let them bully us ever again. Yuzu and Ajuka looked at one another, then at Issei. Clearly something had changed in him. The boy was much more motivated and determined now. Ha 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 ha. That's the spirit, boy. Show the world why you're the Sekiryuutei. Drake once again spoke from Issei's hand. Ajuka walked up to the Nephilim boy and placed a hand on his shoulder. Are you sure about this, Issei? The road you will travel is bound to be very dangerous and challenging. With a serious expression on his face, the boy responded, it's not like I have any other choice. Might as well start preparing now, right? Very well then, let's begin. The Mayu said, grinning. This boy is bound to be something special. Scene skip. In the Manners training room. Okay, Issei, I want you to feel the magic within you and bring it out. Don't try too hard, just relax and push that inner feeling out. Issei sat cross-legged in the center of the room doing as instructed by his new mentor. He could feel the angelic and demonic magic within him, the two powers seemed so chaotic as if they were battling each other. The angelic aura was gold in color, while the demonic aura was cobalt black. They were so beautiful to the boy. Even while they clashed, they filled him with warmth. Doing as instructed, Issei attempted to bring them out. To do this, he imagined opening a door for the magic to escape from. It seemed to work because suddenly he could feel them in a more intense way. Opening his eyes, he saw gold and black auras swirling around him viciously. It was actually a bit frightening. Try to calm it down, Issei, you're in control, don't let it get out of hand. Ajuka watched with a grimace as Issei tried and failed to get his aura to behave. From Ajuka's perspective, the two clashing magics were trying to be free from one another. The gold angelic magic flew to one side of the room, while the black demonic aura went the opposite way. Issei's face looked pained as he tried to control the two. He was exerting himself so hard that blood began to trickle down his face. Not just from his nose but his eyes and ears as well. Issei, stop! Screamed Yuzu, who ran over to her nephew in an attempt to calm him down. Embracing the boy in a protective hug, she ignored the pain that came from his gold angelic magic. It finally came to a stop and Issei looked exhausted, his face covered in sweat and blood, as he desperately took in air. I'm sorry, Issei. I should have expected that the magic within you was too opposite to be used simultaneously. We will try again tomorrow. No. Issei screamed out. I need to be stronger now. What if the fallen angels come back, or the devils, or worse? I don't want to be defenseless anymore. I want to be able to protect myself. I don't want to be scared anymore. As Issei finished talking, he choked back a sob and wiped the tears and blood away from his eyes. I know, Issei, you will be strong one day. You just have to be patient and believe that the day will come. Once you eat and rest up, we can try again. I promise. This seemed to placate the boy as he calmed down and relaxed into his aunt's embrace. Falling asleep from exhaustion. For the next week, Ajuka would try to teach Issei to use his magic, and for the next week they would fail. They tried many different methods, such as using one magic separate from the other. Or just bringing it out in small portions. Unfortunately, none of them worked, and Issei was growing more and more frustrated. It was on one particularly intense training session that left Issei unable to stand up that Drake made a suggestion. The Red Dragon proposed that they just train Issei to use his sacred gear. And that hopefully through strengthening his body he could learn to control his opposing magics better. It was because of that suggestion that Issei found himself in the dragon territory of the underworld. Issei could hear his heart thumping in his chest as large magnificent beasts flew by him, barely even noticing him. Even the smallest dragon he saw was the size of a 14-wheeler truck. As Issei and Yuzu stood in awe of their surroundings, Ajuka appeared to be looking for someone. Ah, there he is. The Mayu started as a huge purple dragon flew towards them. Issei backed up behind his aunt as the giant purple dragon landed right in front of them. You have nothing to be scared of. Tannen here will be your new mentor and will teach you how to use your sacred gear. As Issei craned his head to look up at the massive dragon, he saw what he assumed was a smile dawning his lips. Hello, Issei, my name is Tannen, I am the Blaze Meteor Dragon, and I will be your new mentor. You don't need to fear me, my boy, I won't hurt you. Me and Drake were actually friends way back in the day. Friends is a pretty strong word, but okay. Drake chimed in, causing Tannen to frown. Well, we if it isn't the great heavenly dragon. Oh, so strong and intimidating from the metal glove you're in. Tannen teased back. Wahahaha. It's good to see you again, my friend, it's a shame that it's in this condition though. The red dragon laughed as he reconnected with his old friend. Tannen-sama, I trust Issei will be safe with you. Yuzu said while playing with the 5-year-old's hair. How could something so wild and untamed be so soft, she thought to herself. You have nothing to worry about. I promise you I'll protect him as if he were one of my own children. Issei looked at his aunt, sadness beginning to build within himself. Since birth he has never left her side, and vice versa. Now they would be apart for 3 months, while Issei trained to use his sacred gear. He didn't want to leave her side, but he had to do this to become the warrior that could protect her and anyone else who needed his help. While he was away, Aunt Yuzu and Ajuka were going to talk to other high-ranking devils about his future in hell. He was scared for her, but he knew Uncle Ajuka, which he started to call him, would protect her. And Uncle Ajuka was one of the strongest people he has ever met, so she'd most likely be fine. I'll see you soon, Auntie. The boy whispered as he wrapped all four of his arms around her. His eyes becoming a little wet as they departed. Within a few minutes Issei was alone with Tannen and Drake if you counted him. Alright boy. Tannen lowered his hand for Issei. Hop on so I can fly you to where you will be training. Issei did as instructed and felt a little queasy to bring so high up. This was his first time ever flying before and it was a bit scary. But once Issei got used to the feeling it was amazing. The beautiful scenery below him shrunk due to how high up they were. This rush of excitement made Issei miss his old wings, wishing they were never taken from him. This will be the first time I've ever trained the Sekiryuutei before. It's an honor to be given the chance to turn one into a true warrior. Especially one that has so much raw and untapped potential. Are you sure that I'm that special? You just met me, what if I don't measure up to your expectations? Tannen pretended to think about his answer for a second, already knowing his response. I'm more than sure, child. You are the youngest host of the sacred gear and the most unique as well. There has never been a hybrid of devil and angel blood before, and definitely not one with a long line of sacred gear. I understand that they've given you the name Abomination. I think it's very fitting, because once you come into your full strength there'll be very few people in this world that can even dream of opposing you. Issei Hayato. That name will be associated with greatness. Issei let the word sit in his head. Originally he was nothing. Just trash, the scourge of the world. According to his many assailants. He thought he'd never be anything more than that and that he'd probably die before even turning 10. But now he had Drake with him and creatures centuries older than him, telling him he'd be a great warrior. I'm ready, Tannen. Please turn me into a warrior. I don't want to be scared anymore. A sharp fang-filled smile dawned Tannen's face once more at the boy's newfound resolve. Very well, but I'll warn you now, kid. This training will be brutal. And that's me putting it lightly. I won't go easy on you, but just remember this. Pain is weakness leaving the body. You will undergo a lot of pain, but remember why you're doing this. Understand? The memory of Aunt Yuzu bleeding badly from being attacked by a devil filled Issei's mind. The blood flowed profusely while she tried to stop his worries. Next time would be different. Next time he would be stronger. Yes, sensei. Very good. Now let's begin. Scene skip. Issei quickly realized the truth behind Tannen's words as he began his training. It was honestly a miracle that he even managed to get through the first 2 months. Tannen claimed he was starting him off on low difficulty. Issei quickly discovered that low difficulty for a dragon was actually extremely difficult for anyone else. The Nephilim would wake up at 6 in the morning every day to begin training. To warm up he would run 10 miles up a mountain and do intense calisthenics. After that he would swim 5 miles in the river. A quick test to eat large amounts of protein and vegetables, followed by light sparring. His partner would usually be Tannen or his youngest son Bova, who was just a few years older than Issei. After all that Issei would train to use his boosted gear. Which involved boosting as many times as he could and lifting weights. At the end of each day Issei would meditate for 30 minutes to get a better feel for his demonic and angelic magic. Although Issei was able to conjure the magic with some effort, trying to use it still hurt him. It was the beginning of the 3rd month and Issei was beyond exhausted. Every part of his body, including his tail, was sore. As Issei sat staring up at the sky, absent of any stars, he questioned whether or not he'd be able to make it to the end. Issei was so exhausted that he didn't even hear Tannen walk up behind him. Come on little hatchling, you can't be that tired. You performed even better today than you did last week. The dragon smirked at Issei's annoyance. The boy hated the nickname hatchling that he was given by Tannen. But it was better than the other names for baby dragons like wormlings or whelps. When the Dragon King didn't receive a response he continued talking. I know you think this training is difficult and I won't lie to you, it is. However, it is working wonders already. When you first came to me you were a twig. I was surprised that the wind didn't steal you away. Now, you've grown a great deal. You're starting to develop muscle and you've even grown a little taller. Not to mention I had to increase your workload since you've grown past your old one. Have I really grown that much already? It was hard to imagine how much he has changed in such a short amount of time. Even though each day felt like an eternity, 8 weeks still wasn't that long. It's true, kid. You're much better off now than you were before this training. Those exorcists, and even some of those devils and angels that attacked you, wouldn't be able to beat you anymore. Especially considering how much progress you've made with your sacred gear. I predict by the time you turn 11 years old you'll be able to use Balance Breaker. Drake spoke up from his top left arm. That all may be true. But I still can't use my angelic or demonic magic yet. Every time I try to use it feels like I'm being torn apart. Tannen attempted to come up with a solution to the boy's unique situation. This would be the first time in history that someone ever had this problem, so naturally it'd be difficult to solve. It was at that moment that Drake suddenly came up with an idea. I have been thinking about that myself. The reason why you can't use your powers are due to your body's devil genes being too harmed by the light. But if you didn't have the body of a devil anymore, then you'd most likely be able to bring your power forth without great injury to your health. Issei looked puzzled by what the former heavenly dragon said while Tannen was aghast. Surely you don't mean what I believe you're implying, Drake. Why not, Tannen? It's not like we've got any better ideas. Besides, what's the worst that can happen from it? It'll only be a little painful. The worst that can happen is he loses his mind and rampages like your former hosts. Hey, only one of those was my fault. The rest were already mad with power to begin with. Besides, you're looking at the greatest Sekiryuutei to ever live. If anyone can handle it, it's him. Can someone please explain what we're even talking about right now? I'm so confused right now. With great reluctance Tannen conceded and let Issei know what the red dragon was implying. Drake is suggesting that he transforms your body into that of a dragon. In doing so you'd be more than just an angel-devil-human hybrid. But you'd also be a dragon, well more dragon than anything else actually. The reason why I'm so against it is because it's an incredibly dangerous process that can cause you to lose control. All of your predecessors who underwent the same process went mad afterwards. Rampaging and destroying whatever they saw in sight. Issei grew pale at the explanation. Images of himself as a giant red dragon filled his mind. Everything around him was on fire while he destroyed Earth and everyone in his way. I understand the reluctance, trust me I do. But there is one key difference between Issei and his predecessors, and I'm not referring to genealogy. Most of my past hosts were all power-hungry destroyers who craved to be the strongest for themselves. Issei is different, he has one of the most pure hearts I've ever shared. Also there was one host who managed to do the transformation without any issues. Kaoru, who also had a good heart. I know it's a big risk, but I do believe wholeheartedly that Issei can handle this. I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't believe it. Silence permeated the air as no one spoke for a few minutes. Issei sat still, considering the new offer on the table and what the cost-to-gain ratio would be if he did do as Drake suggested. Finally he made his mind up when he came to the realization that one day he may be without his sacred gear and would be pretty useless without it if he couldn't use any other magic. But that thought in mind he said. I'll do it. Tannen and Drake both were shocked by his response. Conceding, Tannen decided to let the boy have it his way. Very well boy, you can do as you choose. But let it be known I told you how dangerous it would be, so if your aunt comes back here to kick my ass, I'll tell her to do the same to Drake. Oh no, I'm shaking in my scales. Drake said sarcastically. Alright Issei, a full body transformation will probably take a whole day. But you'll most likely pass out while it happens so it all works out. Wait what? You didn't mention that beefer. Before Issei could finish yelling at the dragon he doubled over in pain. A loud shout filled the mountains being heard by every dragon within 5 miles. Before the pain could become unbearable, Issei's vision blurred and soon he was knocked out. Well that's it then. Yuzu is going to kill us. The Dragon King grumbled. Ajuka Pav. You did what? Beelzebub listened with a smirk as Yuzu scolded dragons generations older than her. Tannen and I left him with you to train his sacred gear. How does that translate as turn him into a dragon? As Yuzu reprimanded the Dragon King, the large purple dragon somehow managed to shrink in on himself. It was Drake's idea. The Blaze Meteor Dragon muttered. Oh, Drake said it, so it must be a great idea. Need I remind you that fool got himself trapped in a sacred gear for the rest of eternity? I don't think we should be going to him for advice. Well that's very rude. It's not my fault God wanted to screw me over. As I recall it, I was just minding my own business, winning a fight with the white one, when suddenly my life was ruined. Thank you very much. Ajuka ignored the three opting to instead address the boy who was playing with a ball of golden light. I see you were able to make progress with your angelic magic, huh Issei? Once spoken to, Issei looked up from the ball, which suddenly disappeared in his hands. Yeah kind of. So far I can only use my angelic magic in small portions. When I too much I get a bit of a headache. As for my demonic magic I've only been able to conjure my aura. Other than that I haven't made much progress with it. Ajuka took in the new information he received. So far it all sounded good. He also wasn't worried about the Issei's inability to use his demonic magic, largely due to the fact that he already knew why he couldn't use it effectively. It was at this moment that Ajuka appraised Issei's new appearance. The changes were easily discernible from how he originally looked. What once used to be flesh was now dark red scales, covering Issei's arms, legs, and torso, leading all the up to just below his neck. Issei's hair seemed even spikier, and the horns that were once no bigger than 2 inches now stood 6 inches long and looked much more durable. Issei's hands and feet looked humanoid, but they had sharp nails and were also covered in scales. Very good Issei, you've already came so far in such a short amount of time. Now let's see how much you've improved in combat, shall we? As Ajuka finished his sentence, he removed his cape and assumed a fighting stance. Hey Ajuka? Are you serious? What if someone gets hurt? Oh, he'll be fine, Yuzu. He's been training with dragons for 3 months, if that doesn't make him tough, then nothing will. Ajuka looked back at Issei to see that the young boy has taken a fighting stance, similar that of a boxer with his right foot forward. The Mayu could detect the slight nervousness coming off of him. However, the nervousness was overshadowed by the excitement in the boy's eyes. The smirk formed on the Satan's face as he prepared to spar with the young boy. You've changed so much in such a little time, my boy. I'm curious to see how you will progress in the future. Begin. Ajuka yelled, causing Issei to charge towards him faster than a bullet. Ajuka put his arm up to block the first punch Issei threw. To the man's surprise, the punch actually backed him up a bit. To counter this, Ajuka grabbed at Issei's attacking arm and threw him into a nearby mountain. The young Sekiryuutei quickly readjusted himself in the air and leapt off the mountain. Ajuka was impressed as Issei came back even faster, attempting to throw a roundhouse kick at him. Ducking under the attempt, Ajuka threw an uppercut but was surprised when a long scaly tail grabbed his arm before he hit his target. Before the Satan could retract his arm, Issei used the open guard to his advantage, driving a vicious hook into Ajuka's rib. The boy was strong enough to drive the Satan back a bit further. Very good Issei, but now let's see how you handle 10% of my full strength. As the Mayu finished his sentence, he flared his dark green aura, pushing Issei back off of him. Issei assumed his fighting stance, once more getting serious. He began to charge up his power. Let's go, Drag. I know we're outmatched, but I still want to give it my all. That's the spirit, partner. Upon declaring his motives, a green jewel appeared in the center of the boy's chest. From it a single word was uttered. Boost. Ajuka listened curiously as the word was yelled upwards of 10 times consecutively. How strange. It seems like the sacred gear merged with his body. It doesn't even seem to need the 10-second break in between any longer. And his power has increased significantly. I may need to go up to 13% instead. Issei, how long do you think you can sustain that power for? Issei contemplated the question for a second, then answered. Maybe 5 minutes. 6 if I push my limits. Ajuka chuckled at the response. At just 5 years old, the boy could contend with almost all high-class devils. Even if it was only for 5 minutes, it was still an impressive feat. Alright then, let's not waste any time. Come at me with everything you got. I want you to act as if you're trying to kill me. Finishing his sentence, Ajuka charged at Issei faster than the boy could perceive. Raising both of his arms in the air, he brought them down in a slamming motion. Issei had to use all 4 of his arms to block the attack. Ajuka noticed a bright red light coming from the boy's mouth and felt a strong heat oozing off the boy. He quickly jumped back to evade a pillar of fire that erupted from the boy's mouth into the sky. Once the pillar started to make its way towards him, Ajuka aimed a blast of demonic magic at it, causing the 2 attacks to collide. Once it seemed like his own attack was starting to lose to the flames, Ajuka used his other hand and created a swarm of demonic flies to attack Issei. The flies did as ordered and interrupted the boy's attack by biting and stinging at him. Ouch, Uchi. That's not fair, Uncle Ajuka. You're cheating. In a fight of life or death, Issei, there's no such thing as cheating. To be rid of the flies, Issei created an orb of green energy about the size of a marble. From the center of his chest, the word Dragon Bomb was yelled. An explosion was let off right next to Issei's face, killing all the flies and leaving him relatively unharmed. Before Ajuka could be too surprised by the event, a golden light started to shine in front of him. It was so bright that it almost blinded him. When it died down, Issei was holding a sword and shield of light in his 2 bottom hands and a warhammer and axe in his top 2. On the boy's back sprouted 4 dragon wings, but they were very different from regular dragon wings. The left 2 were black and leathery, while the right 2 were golden. In addition to the changes, Issei's normal hazel brown eyes were no longer visible. What took its place was fire that didn't seem to block his vision. Before Ajuka could even react to the new changes, he was ducking under a slash from the boy's axe of light. For the next 2 minutes, Ajuka and Issei were throwing fierce attacks at one another. The 2 were moving at such a fast pace that only the most trained eyes could follow them. Ajuka immediately took notice of Issei's fighting prowess. He seemed to be a natural when it came to physical combat, expertly mixing in feints and awkward rhythm to throw the Satan off. His training with dragons has also taught him to use every part of his body while fighting. On multiple occasions, Ajuka would have to move away from Issei's tail so it wouldn't grab hold of his legs or arms. The final minute of the battle was soon upon them, and Issei's breath was ragged. His hammer and axe were destroyed in the fight, leaving only his sword and shield. Ajuka however was unscathed and wasn't even sweating. Not one of Issei's attacks had landed clean after his transformation. Granted, the Satan did jump up to 16% of his full power. Get ready Uncle Ajuka, because I'm gonna give this last attack everything I have. Explosion. The green jewel yelled from within the boy's chest. Ajuka watched as Issei's power skyrocketed and his angelic and demonic aura flared stronger than it did the whole battle. The boy flew off into the sky and began forming a giant green ball of energy. It was 4 times the boy's body and seemed to grow bigger. Ajuka readied his own attack to counter. As the ball started to get closer towards Ajuka, he fired his own attack. Then immediately he regretted it. Just as the Satan's attack neared the energy ball, it made a beeline for Issei. The Satan heard the words recycle. Right before the ball disappeared into the boy. Confused and still powering his own attack, Ajuka quickly realized that it was another feint. The Mayu watched with surprise as Issei made a dash towards him, evading his attack altogether. He didn't even have time to change tactics before the Sekiryuutei was right before him with his hand reared back. All Ajuka did was smirk as a scale-covered hand made contact with his face and launched him towards a mountain. Before the Satan could make contact with it, he redirected his momentum, using his 12 devil wings to take off into the sky. From this new angle he got a view of the battlefield. Many large mountains surrounding them had been broken and shattered from their battle. The ground had burn marks from Issei's explosions and fire. In the heat of battle, Ajuka hadn't even noticed that a dozen or so dragons had flown over to watch the battle between the two. As he descended back into the battlefield, Issei stood exhausted. The word burst was yelled from the green jewel in Issei's chest before it disappeared along with the boy's wings. As Issei was going to collapse into the ground, the Mayu scooped him up into his arms. The dragons watching the fight erupted into cheers after the battle they witnessed. Some even shoot streams of fire into the air. Alright everyone, calm down. As for you Issei, I'm very proud of how far you've come. When you first came to me you were just a pipsqueak. Now you're on your way to becoming a great warrior. I do hope you will come back to train with us. You are always welcome here, little hatchling. A smile spread across the boy's face as he moved out of Ajuka's grasp. Upon reaching the ground, the Sekiryuutei slowly walked to the massive purple dragon. When he finally stood in front of the Dragon King, he bowed before him. Thank you for everything, Tannen-sama. I still have so much to learn from you, so I will be back soon. As they said their goodbyes, Ajuka opened up a teleportation circle to his manor. When the light faded, the 2 devils and the hybrids stood in front of the doors to the castle. Scene skip. Issei Pav. Issei sat in a study room across from Ajuka and his aunt Yuzu. The couch he sat on felt like a cloud, but then again any couch would feel comfortable compared to the rocks on the Dragon Mountains. What training will I be doing today, Uncle Ajuka? Ajuka took a seat in front of the big mahogany desk. Today we will be training your mind. Yuzu has informed me that you haven't yet received a formal education. I expect that your reading level is far behind what it should be, but that isn't your fault. We will be starting on the basics of devil history. As Ajuka began explaining the 72 pillars and the Great War, Issei learned of the 4 Satan clans and was curious about something. You mentioned the Asmodeus clan. Isn't that the one we're from? He asked Yuzu, who gave him a rather strange and unreadable expression. It's rather difficult to explain, really. My father was indeed a member of the Asmodeus clan, yes. But after taking a human wife and producing 2 half-breeds, which would be me and your mother, he was something of an outcast. As the Great War was reaching its climax though, your mother Mickey met an angel, and the 2 fell in love with one another, and had you. After that, well, to put it simply, none of us were allowed to carry the name anymore, as declared by Lucifer himself. After he attempted to kill your parents, of course. The explanation caused Yuzu to don a gloomy expression. Issei didn't know how to feel about what he just learned. He knew he should be sad, but he didn't know his parents enough to feel that way. If anything, he just had more questions. So who is my father exactly? I never learned who he was beyond him being an angel and going by the name Goru Hayato, asked the Sekiryuutei. He recalled the time spent in hiding with his aunt, asking about his parents and her promising to tell him more soon. Goru Hayato is a name that Goru gave himself. Originally he was one of the 10 great seraphs, known as Metatron. He served very close to God himself. After heaven learned of his relationship with Mickey, they banished him, forbidding him to ever return. To add to the punishment, they stripped him of his name, since it was gifted to him upon being turned into an angel. There was still one thing that confused the young Abomination, which prompted him to ask his final question about his parents. I thought that when an angel committed a sin, they were outlawed and turned into fallen angels. How come I have golden wings instead of black ones? That ice deer is unclear. It's a mystery why Goru never fell even after committing one of the greatest sins of all. I suppose that would be something we'd have to ask him if he was still around to answer. All I know is after both Mickey and Gore were banished, attempts to take their lives were done regularly. It was ultimately a devil who took them out, but I'm not sure which one. I saw my sister Mickey dead, but peculiarly I never found Goru's body. Do you think he's still out there? Issei asked his aunt with a glint of hope in his voice. Her sad expression worsened before she finally got the nerve to answer. I want to believe it, but I highly doubt it. Well, I found no body. I did find 12 severed wings and his blood right next to Mickey. I know this must be hard for you to take in, Ice. It's hard for me to tell you. But I felt you deserved to know the truth. The boy sat quietly for a few minutes. Saying it was a lot to take in was a huge understatement. For years he was left in the dark about his parents and his lineage, and now the truth came pouring out. He finally spoke. It's fine, Auntie. Well, it's not fine, but I needed to know. I can't explain how I'm feeling really. But I do know this. All those bullies who took my family away will never get the chance to do it again. I'm the Sekiryuutei and one day I'm gonna be so strong they won't be able to touch me. In fact, I'm gonna go train right now. For the first time that morning, Yuzu finally smiled. Ajuka uncharacteristically cackled at the boy's resolve. I'm sure you will, Issei, but don't be too arrogant now. Overconfidence has been the downfall of many Sekiryuutei before you. Also, I hate to burst your bubble, but we haven't even begun your other schooling yet. Need I remind you, you still don't know how to spell your own name. Ajuka chimed in, causing Issei to deflate. I do know how, Uncle Ajuka. It's spelled S-A-H-O-D-O. The last O coming off as more of a question than an answer. Yuzu face-palmed as Ajuka smirked. Most definitely not. Boy, do we have our work cut out for us. Do your time skip. Issei Pav. In the Beelzebub Manor's garden, a 7-year-old Issei Hayato sits cross-legged in a meditative state. His shirt discarded off to the side of him. His body is covered in dragon scales that go up to his mid-chest area. In 2 years Issei has grown quite a bit. His body was more lean, giving him a six-pack, and his arms were strong but toned. He had grown taller too. Standing at 4 feet and 7 inches now, which was rather big for his age. His horns grew thicker as well, often making it a hassle to take off and put on shirts. He had been out in the garden for about 2 hours now. This is where he came to relax and sometimes read. Though the books he was reading were really comic books, it technically counted as reading, even though Ajuka didn't agree. Today Issei sensed things both close and far away from him, but not with his regular sight and hearing. He was attempting to sense the aura and life force of everything around him. His teacher, Tannen, had instructed him to turn off his regular senses and feel for the intrinsic life force of everything around him. Intrinsic life force, what is that crazy old dragon talking about? I can't feel anything. Also, what does intrinsic even mean? Sigh. Maybe you should spend more time studying instead of just playing with Bova all day. Hey. It's not my fault I don't know all these big words. And I do study every day. In the heat of the argument with Drag, Issei hadn't even noticed a presence walking up behind him until it was too late. Whoa. I've never seen a devil like you before, what clan are you from? Issei jumped 4 feet into the air at the new voice's sudden appearance. When he finally calmed down, Issei looked up to see the most gorgeous girl he's ever laid eyes on. The girl in question had beautiful sea green eyes, smooth porcelain skin, and long crimson red hair that went down to her shoulders. She looked like a princess from a comic book he was reading. Hello. Earth to Issei, you've been staring for 5 minutes now, you're gonna look like a creep pretty soon. Issei, to his credit, was trying to respond back to the girl, but every time he opened his mouth random unintelligible noises would come out. When he finally managed to put these noises into something useful, all he managed to say was, "Huh. Nice one, partner, real smooth. Cut me some slack, I never even talked to a girl my age before. And this is the only one who hasn't tried to kill me besides my aunt." The girl, however, was unfazed by Issei's limited articulation and instead chose to marvel at the boy more. I've seen devils with horns, tails, and pointed ears before. But never all at the same time. Could you possibly be from the extinct Bune clan? I guess that would explain the dragon scales, but not the 4 arms. I'm not from any of those clans. I'm from the old Asmodeus clan. Issei professed, not even considering that may have been something he should have kept secret. Issei observed her face as she donned a shocked expression. Wow. I never met anyone from one of the old Satan clans before. That's amazing. And you look so cool. I wish I had horns or a tail. Issei's face became as red as her hair at the compliment. For the first time in his life, he managed to speak to a cute girl. And not only was she not terrified of him, she actually thought he was cool. Thanks. I like your hair. Red is my favorite color. The girl giggled and stroked her long hair. Oh, thanks. Oh, where are my manners? My name is Rias Gremory, but I would like it if you just called me Rias. Gremory? As in the Duke Gremory? The one and only. What's your name, if you don't mind me asking? Oh. My name is Issei Hayato. But you can just call me Issei. Rias had a puzzled expression at his response. I thought you said you were part of the Asmodeus clan. How come your last name is Hayato? Issei began to get nervous at her question. He wasn't ready to tell her the truth, but he also didn't want to just lie to her. Well, that's because I have my father's last name. I'm part devil on my mother's side. Oh, so you're a hybrid. Is your dad a human? Her question made Issei even more nervous than when he first met her. No. It's a bit hard to explain, but yes, I'm only part devil. Rias gave him a look like she wanted him to explain further, but she soon dropped it and moved on. Well, Issei, I hope you and I can become friends. Friends? Are you sure you want to be friends with someone like me? Asked Issei. Besides, Bova the boy never had any friends, especially none his own age. And now this beautiful girl who appeared from out of nowhere wanted to be his friend. Of course I'm sure. I've never met someone who looked so cool before. Rias said, not understanding the boy's reservations in the slightest. Okay then, sure. Let's be friends. Good. Now that that's decided. Tag, you're it. Rias suddenly tapped him on the shoulder and took off running, leaving a confused Issei standing still. As Rias was running, she turned to look behind her, only to notice that Issei just stood there looking confused. You're supposed to chase me, she said, coming to a stop. Why? The boy asked, looking incredibly perplexed. Because that's how the game works. I tag you and then you chase me. Issei was still confused but decided to play along with it. Okay, I guess. As Rias started to run again, Issei began to do as instructed. In a matter of seconds, Rias felt a tap on her shoulder, which surprised her so much she yelped. Ah. What the heck? How did you catch up to me so fast when you were just right over there? I ran as fast as I could, Issei said innocently. Failing to realize that kids his age didn't normally have speed like he did. His statement seemed to shock Rias. Holy crap. You're even faster than Sekiryuutei is. And he's super fast. Okay, I guess I'm it then. Take this. As Rias finished talking, she tried to touch Issei again, only to fail due to the boy dodging. She made about 14 more attempts to tag the boy and failed each time. It was after the 15th attempt that Issei realized he was supposed to be running away. In only 5 seconds, Issei turned around and ran back to the spot they were just at. Rias tried to give chase by running as fast as she possibly could, but no matter how much she tried, she couldn't catch up. Once Issei noticed how exhausted she was getting, he decided to slow down so she could tag him again. Aha. I finally got you now. You're it again. When Rias ran away again, Issei gave her a bit of a head start before deciding to catch up. He even slowed down to let her feel like she was getting far. Then Rias did something that surprised him. A pair of devil wings sprouted out of the girl's back and lifted her into the sky. Come on, Issei, let's play up here. As she finished talking, she turned and flew off further into the garden. Issei got so excited that he jumped into the air and summoned his own wings to follow. In 10 seconds, Rias felt another tap on her shoulder, but when she turned around, she saw something that left her mouth gaping. What's wrong, Rias? Your wings. They don't look like devil wings at all. Realization struck Issei like a truck, causing him to get nervous. In his excitement, he summoned his dragon wings, which consisted of 2 black scale-covered wings on the left and 2 golden feather-covered dragon wings on the right. What are you? The Gremory heiress asked. Though she didn't seem appalled. She seemed to be more curious than anything. Issei began to descend to the ground, dissipating his wings as his feet made contact. Rias followed suit and stared at the boy expectantly. Conceding, Issei decided to reveal the truth. After telling Rias everything, he expected her to run off or berate him. Instead, she looked at him with a sad look. Before Issei could ask what the look was about, she crashed into him with a big hug. I'm sorry all of that happened to you, Issei. I know it doesn't change anything, but I think you're amazing. And anyone who doesn't see that is just a stupid bully. The young Sekiryuutei just stood still in shock, not knowing how to react. He hesitantly brought his forearms up to hug her back. I was going to introduce you too, but I can see you've already met. The voice interrupts the two, causing them to jump in surprise. As the two separate and look to see where the voice came from, they see a grinning Ajuka and a smiling man who looks a lot like Rias. Well, it would seem like my little right hand has made a new friend. Hello, I am Sekiryutei's Gremory. Nice to meet you. As the man introduced himself, Issei remembered that name. Sekiryutei's Gremory was the name of the current Devil King. The realization made the Abomination's eyes grow wide, quickly coming to a bow before the man. Relax, young man, there's no need for that. I'm glad we can finally meet one another. Your uncle has told me so much about you. Issei was beyond nervous at this moment. How exactly do you respond to the king of all devils? Do you call him Lord or Sir? Picking up on the boy's emotions, Sekiryutei put a hand on his shoulder to put him at ease. Relax, young one, I mean you no harm. I simply came here to introduce myself after all. Me and Rias need to get going after all. But no way. We just got here, big brother. Can we please stay a little longer, pretty please? Rias begged, giving the Satan sad puppy eyes that always made him give her what she wanted. I'm sure a couple more hours couldn't hurt Serziches, besides Yuzu should be coming back from the market soon and she'll be disappointed if she missed you. Yes. Issei, let's go play hide and seek, come on. The red girl yelled before grabbing one of his arms and dragging him off into the garden. Those two seem close. Maybe, just maybe. I know what you're thinking about, Serziches, but it wouldn't work. The way my evil P system works, Rias wouldn't be able to recruit Issei into her peerage unless she used up all her special pieces. He's already twice as strong as she is now. I suppose you're right. And surely he can't be that strong, he's only 7 years old. The Devil King said, slightly indignant at the remark on Ria's strength. Trust me, old friend. I have to use 25% of my power to spar with him these days, and he's only getting stronger. His skills in magic may be subpar, but when it comes to fighting strength, he is definitely on par with most high-class devils already. He reminds me of us when we were younger. Well, let's hope we can at least turn him into a good ally for hell, instead of a powerful enemy. The two watched as the children played with one another, smiling and laughing until the moon came up. Finally, it was time for the two young devils to say their goodbyes. Yuzu, who had returned, snapped a picture of the pair hugging, much to Issei's ire. After the redheads finally left, the boy's aunt teased him constantly about his new crush. Even Drake and Ajuka chimed in to further tease the boy. I have a feeling this won't stop, will it? No. They all chimed in. 3-year time skip. 3 years have passed since Issei met Rias. The last 3 years have been the best in his entire life. Not only has Issei made his first real friend in Rias, but he also made 3 more. Over the years he met Sona Citri, Sakura Agares, Saraird Bale, and Akeno Himejima. Pretty soon after meeting her, Issei and Rias became best friends. The two were so close that his aunt would always say they were joined at the hip. The young girl insisted on holding one of his hands wherever they went, not that he minded. Today was a special day for the Nephilim boy. It was April 16th, making it his 10th birthday. Since moving in with Uncle Ajuka, birthdays have always been a happy and cheerful event. His aunt and uncle would always shower him with gifts and presents and invite his friends over. This year was no different, being that all his friends were coming over again. To prepare for the day, Issei was in his bedroom getting dressed for the occasion. Dang it. I outgrew my clothes again. The young Sekiryuutei said, holding onto a t-shirt that didn't even go past his belly button. In the 3 years he had grown once again, going from 4 feet and 9 inches to 5 feet and 2 inches. He was almost at his Aunt Yuzu's chin at this point. His horns also grew another inch. His brown hair had become wild and untamed, going past his shoulders. Maybe I should just get clothes 2 sizes above what I usually wear. It's already hard enough to get custom clothes for people with 4 arms and tails. As he was contemplating this, he heard a knock on his door. Using his enhanced smelling, he sniffed out who was on the other side. Expecting it to be his uncle or his aunt, he was surprised to detect a certain crimson-haired ruined princess. Just a second. The boy yelled out. Maybe this'll work. Boost transfer. Using his boosted gear, the boy transferred the power to the small t-shirt in his hand, making go a couple sizes up. Summoning his claws, he carefully cut the excess away, leaving him with a t-shirt that fit. After he checked his hair to make sure it was messy as usual, he opened his door and was attacked with a big hug. This was Ria's usual way of greeting him when they first saw each other. In the beginning, Issei would always be incredibly flustered by it, but now he was more or less used to it. Happy birthday, Issei. I made sure to show up as early as I could so I could be the first one to tell you this. The girl said next to his pointed ear. In the past 3 years, Rias quickly became one of Issei's favorite people ever. They hung out every week and did almost everything together. Whether they were playing or training their magic, it was just a blast to be with her. It also helped that Issei still had a huge crush on her. Let's go downstairs, Akeno is down there too. Big brother couldn't make it because he was busy, but he wanted me to tell you happy birthday. He also helped me get you a present, but I can't say what it is because it's a secret. As Rias dragged him along downstairs, the two talked about anything that came to their minds. When they finally got downstairs, they saw Akeno standing alone. The first time Issei met Akeno was a very interesting day. Rias had explained Akeno's sad past to him, and it was something they could both relate to. The day they first saw each other, Akeno was in shock seeing his appearance for the first time. Rias brought her over, while Issei had been training with his Aunt Yuzu, so Akeno got to see him in his full abomination form, with golden angelic dragon wings and all. The girl was in a mix between terrified and curious when she first saw the Sekiryuutei, which didn't make for a good first meeting. After getting over her initial shock, the two were able to become friends. Although being subtle about it, Issei even tried to convince her to use her holy lightning magic. Which sorta backfired and resulted in her not talking to him for a few days. Once she got over it, the two were almost as close as he and Rias were. Happy birthday, Issei. Has Rias given her husband his birthday kiss yet? Shut it, Akeno. What are you even talking about? Oh, nothing. The violet-haired girl laughed at her master's embarrassment. Before the teasing could continue, Yuzu and Ajuka entered the room alongside Grafia. Good morning, Lord Haidu. I hope you are enjoying your special day. Rias was insistent that we show up before everyone else. She wanted to be the first face you saw on your birthday. The silver-haired maid said. The women insisted on calling Issei Lord Haidu, despite the fact that he asked her to just call him Issei. Her statement made the aforementioned girl's face go scarlet red. Grafia. Why is everyone teasing me so much today? Because you look so cute when you're embarrassed. Now come along, everyone else will be arriving soon. Yuzu said, giggling at Rias, who was hiding behind Issei's back. Doing as instructed, the group made their way over to the courtyards where the new guests would be arriving. The first to arrive was Sekiryuutei Bale. Upon seeing him, Issei and the boy ran at each other full speed, crashing into one another. It was a strange mix between wrestling and hugging that the boys engaged in. Sekiryuutei, or Sai for short, and Issei had grown very close over the last 3 years. The older of the two trained with Issei often on the Dragon Mountains. Due to not inheriting the power of destruction that Rias had, Sekiryuutei decided to train his body to the extreme. The two boys became as close as brothers to one another, always competing to be stronger than the other, while pushing each other to their limits. In a hand-to-hand fight, Issei could only compete with the older boy after boosting several times, and even then the boy would put up a very tough fight. The guy was so strong he could break the Sekiryuutei's light constructs with his bare hands. Sekiryuutei was also taller than Issei, who was pretty tall for his age. The Belayer was a whopping 5 feet and 7 inches tall. Whenever the two saw one another, they couldn't help but spar, which would often get them scolded at by Yuzu or Grafia. Happy birthday, Dragon Breath, maybe today will be the day you beat me. I think you're confused, lion face. I was the one who won our last fight. As the two teased one another, the Belayer managed to get Issei into a headlock. As they wrestled with one another, they didn't even notice the flashing light of a teleportation circle behind them. Nor did they notice Sona and Sekiryuutei appearing with Seraphol Leviathan along with them. Oh my, it's only 11 in the morning and they're already going at one another, said the Citri heiress. That's to be expected from those two. Whenever they see each other, they usually end up breaking things. The Aguirre said with a sigh. Oh hey guys, you made it, Wasp. Issei called out to them from the headlock he was in. When Sekiryuutei looked up to see the guest, Issei used the moment of distraction to slip out and wrap his tail around the Bale Devil's arm and tossed him away a couple feet. Now you two. You've had your fun, but we can't have any broken bones today. Besides, we have a lot to do today, so let's get to it, shall we? Yes, Auntie Yuzu. All the children shouted. All of them taking to calling the woman auntie due to how doting she could be to all of them. When the group made their way inside to the living room, they found all sorts of games set up for their enjoyment. From cards to board games, Aunt Yuzu had really gone all out this year. As the group played, Yuzu and Grafia set up for dinner. In 3 years, Issei learned quite a few things about his new friends. He learned that Sona had a genius-level intellect and could beat anyone of any age at chess. He learned that Sekiryuutei was obsessed with Mecha Otaku and had hundreds of figurines in her room. He discovered that Sekiryuutei wanted to become strong enough to be a Mau. While talking with Akeno, he found out she was the daughter of a shrine maiden and comes from a clan with their own unique ability. And of course he knew almost everything about Rias, like how she was terrified of camels. How she wanted to be a raiding games champion after watching her idol Roygun Belphegor. How she wanted to have a full peerage so she can spoil and dote on them. Ice, you've been staring at Rias for a while now. Is there something on her face that we can't see? Akeno teased, catching his gaze at the girl he had a crush on. No, I wasn't, I was just thinking, that's all. He protested, looking away nervously. Akeno, it's perfectly fine for little bro to look at his future wife that way. Maybe he might get lucky and get a birthday kiss from Rai-chan. Joked Sekiryuutei, causing both Rias and Issei's faces to go crimson red. I can't take any more of this teasing. Issei beat them up for me. The Gremory heiress yelled, hiding her face behind her hands. I hate to interrupt you all, but dinner is ready. If you would all follow me, please. One of the Beelzebub maids said, escorting the young devils to the dining room. Upon entering, Issei's eyes lit up, seeing all of his favorite food dishes on the table. All the aromas added with his enhanced sense of smell, and the boy was practically drooling at the sight. While everyone else ate with proper etiquette befitting of high-class devils, Issei practically scarfed his food down. Using all 4 of his arms to shovel food in his mouth, he practically swallowed his food without chewing. Both Grafia and Yuzu sighed at his antics. Even after years of teaching him to eat properly, the boy would always do as he pleased in a comfortable setting. Rias, who sat next to Issei, noticed he had some gravy on his chin. "Hold still, ice," the girl said as she wiped it off with a napkin. Suddenly realizing her mistake, she retracted her hand, but it was too late. All too soon Aunt Yuzu was snapping a picture on her phone, causing the girl to get flustered again. Once dinner and dessert was done, the presents were brought out. Ria's gift for Issei was an expensive art kit due to her noticing how much the boy loved to draw and paint. Sekiryuutei had gotten him a dragon mecha figurine. Sona and Searfall had gifted him a chess set, which wasn't the greatest gift considering how bad he was at the game, but he was grateful nonetheless. Sekiryuutei gave him a poster of the Satan Rangers, signed by all the cast including his uncle Ajuka, who was embarrassed by the gift. Lastly, it was time for Yuzu's gift. "For my gift to you, Issei, I'm giving you a present that your parents wanted me to give to you once you turned 10. They explicitly told me to wait until you reach this age to give this to you." At the announcement, the whole room went dead silent. Issei suddenly became all too aware of the many eyes focused on him. Looking down at the neatly wrapped box in his hands, Sekiryuutei's hands shook when he went to open it. After removing the wrapping paper, he saw a decorative wooden box. Upon opening it, the boy was surprised to see what lay inside. In the box was a Polaroid picture of both his parents sitting next to one another under a tree. The two were staring into each other's eyes and holding hands, almost oblivious to the camera taking the picture. Issei looked at the picture with a small smile. He'd seen pictures of his mother before, his aunt having shown him the one she still had, but he'd never seen any of his father. The man looked almost like an older version of him. The same messy brown hair and similar facial features. Looking at his mother, he once again saw where he got most of his other features from. The beautiful woman had long curved red horns that protruded from her long black hair. She had 4 arms and a tail as well. Her eyes were the very same color as his own. "She's beautiful," Rias said next to him. Suddenly Issei was reminded that there were other people in the room. Looking up, he saw that all his friends, as well as the adults, had made their way behind him to see the picture. "Look, Issei, there's more," Akeno said from his right side, pointing into the box the picture had come out of. When Issei looked back into the box, he saw a ring and 2 letters. Picking up the ring and holding it closer, he inspected it closely. It was a beautiful black and gold band that had the words "Goru and Mickey for Eternity" on the side. The word eternity being represented in an infinity symbol. Holding it closely, it was almost as if he could feel his parents' love for each other within the ring. Like it was somehow alive almost. "That ring was Mickey's engagement ring from said she wanted you to have it," said Yuzu. Issei looked back to the picture and could vaguely make out a similar ring on his mother's top left hand. "Looks like there is a note on top of the letters, what does it say?" Searfall asked, peeping over Sona's head. Picking up the note, Issei saw the words were written in cursive. "I don't know how to read it," Issei said, embarrassed that he couldn't decipher the words. "That's fine, I'll help," Rias said, holding out her hand for the note. "It says hold the ring and say the word awaken. Make sure you aren't standing too close to anyone else." Doing as the note instructed, Issei moved to a more open area and said the word awaken. Suddenly a gold light filled the room and the ring transformed itself into a Guandao weapon right before him. The weapon was marvelous, being about his height. The handle was onyx black with gold accents on the side, leading to a silver blade. Etched on the side of the handle were the words "Goru and Mickey for Eternity," the same way they had been on the ring. "It's so cool. Your dad was a great blacksmith, little bro," said Sekiryuutei, looking at his reflection in the blade. Holding on to the weapon made the Sekiryuutei feel weirdly powerful. The same way he felt when he boosted his power several times. For a weapon that looked so tall and heavy, it felt no heavier than a broomstick. Issei gave the weapon a few swings and quickly fell in love with how it felt in his hands. He could easily twirl, jab, and thrust with the spear. "Be careful, Issei, maybe turn it back into a ring for the rest of the party, okay?" Yuzu said, scared that someone would get hurt by the powerful weapon. "Okay. Hey Rias, does it say how to turn the weapon back?" the boy asked, not entirely sure how to undo the transformation. No, it doesn't say. Maybe trying telling the weapon to sleep will work." Holding the weapon out in front of himself, Issei shouted the word sleep. And the weapon glowed once more before turning back into an engagement ring. The Sekiryuutei was now obsessed with his new gift and didn't want to put it down for a second. Something about the ring just felt so enthralling to him, he couldn't bear to put it down. "Are you going to read the letters they left for you, Issei?" Rias asked. Issei had completely forgotten there was more to the gift. Walking back to the box, he looked inside to see 2 envelopes, each closed by a wax seal. One of them said from Mickey on the top and the other said from Goru. Issei was incredibly nervous at the idea of opening either of them. He had never spoken with either of his parents, let alone heard the sound of their voices. And now he would get to read their last messages to him before they went. With a shaky hand he started with the one from his father. If Issei. It's been a long time since I wrote a letter, so I'm kind of rusty. I don't really know what to say in this thing, to be honest. Well, I guess if you're reading this I'm gone and these are my last words to you. It is sad to think about. I remember holding you in my arms when you were born. You were so small you could almost fit in my hand. I know this world will be cruel to you because it was cruel to me and your mother. I just need you to know that no matter what, I will always love you. Looking at you while you were in my arms, somehow I could just tell you would do great things. I hope you go on to meet great friends and experience all the joys in life. I want to say more, but I don't have the words to. Just know, my boy, that you will always be my greatest creation. Sincerely, Goru. While reading the letter to himself, a lump formed in his throat. Without realizing it, Issei's grip tightened on his mother's ring. Ignoring the concerned faces of all the party guests, Issei moved on to the next letter from his mom. Unlike the first envelope, which had been white and gold, this one was black and purple. Issei was hesitant to open this one, he barely got through his father's letter. A reassuring hand on his shoulder from Aunt Yuzu spurred him to continue. With a deep breath he opened the letter. My darling Issei. There's so much I want to say to you, but so little time. Yuzu probably didn't tell you, but you weren't Goru in my first attempt at having a child. Before you came along, me and your father tried and failed 3 times to conceive a child. When you were born I considered you my miracle baby. It hurt so much to leave you, but for your safety I must. In another world maybe, I would have been able to see you grow up, see you find love, see you grow old. But life doesn't always give us what we want. I do hope you enjoyed the present I gave you. It was an engagement gift your father made for me. I did wish for you to have it earlier, but Goru insisted that 5-year-olds shouldn't have weapons of mass destruction. If fate was more kind we would have had more time together. Please take care of Yuzu for me, darling, and take care of yourself too. I love you more than life, Issei. I have to go now. Good luck, my child, follow your heart. Your mother, Miki. While reading the letter, droplets of water started to spill on the page. Putting his hands up to his eyes he felt the source of the droplets. Was he crying? He never met his parents, but yet he could feel their sadness and love for him in each word. Are you okay? Rias asked gently, holding one of his left hands. She held that look of concern since he started reading the letters. Akeno and Sona were doing the same on his right side. I'm fine. He said, barely a whisper. Oh yeah, Issei, I haven't given you your gift yet. Ajuka said, before holding out his hand and summoning what looked to be a silver chain necklace. This is for your ring, so you can keep it closed at all times. Anything put on the necklace will return if ever lost. That is the spell I put on it. Reaching out for the gift, the boy slid the ring onto one side and then clasped the necklace around his neck. Okay, sad times over, everyone. Let's party. Yelled Serafo right next to Ajuka's ear, making the man scowl at her. As the festivities resumed and the music came back on, everyone began to dance. Issei, very timidly, danced with Rias. Dancing wasn't one of his talents, so he was nervous he'd make a fool of himself. It's fine, just follow my lead. She said into his ear. As the boy copied her pattern, it became a lot easier. In a weird way, dancing was sort of like fighting. In the sense that you're moving your body in many directions while trying to keep balance and grace. Pretty soon Issei became more confident in his skills. Maybe not enough to go on Devil's Got Talent, but certainly enough for a birthday party dance. After dancing with Rias, Issei also danced with Akeno, Sona, and even his Aunt Yuzu. As the night went on and the sky darkened, midnight was upon the party-goers. The first to leave were Sona and Searfall. Next up Sikvara, and lastly Sererg. Rias begged Grafia to stay a little longer, but her puppy dog Zadai technique had no effect on the maid. After a little more begging she was allowed 5 more minutes to say her goodbyes. Because of this, Issei and Rias found themselves on the terrace, overlooking the gardens they met in. What did the letters from your parents say? Oh, nothing really. Well, that's a lie, but I'm not really ready to talk about it yet. Is that okay? Of course it is. I'm sorry that happened to you, I wouldn't know how to handle that situation if it happened to me. After she said that, she tightened her grasp on his bottom right hand. It was at this point Issei realized that they were holding hands that whole time. Why did it feel so normal? He used to be so flustered and now he was just at peace. Bringing up one of his hands to his necklace, he played with the ring on his neck. I'm fine. Even if I never got to meet them, I have Auntie Yuzu, Uncle Ajuka, and you. I don't really need anything more than that. He said while rubbing his thumb over the back of her palm. Thank you for coming over today. This has been the best birthday I ever had. You're welcome, Ice, but it's not over yet. I still have one more gift for you. Close your eyes, okay? Issei did as instructed, waiting for the sounds of Rias pulling out a gift. Instead he felt a soft pair of lips pressed against his own. Suddenly the whole underworld went quiet and all he could hear was his heartbeat. Click. The sound of a camera going off froze the two children. When they looked over they could see Yuzu holding her smartphone camera while Ajuka, Akeno, and Rias stood next to her. His aunt had a very sheepish expression on her face while the other three just looked amused. Crap, that was supposed to be on mute. His aunt yelled to herself. Don't mind me just taking pictures of the sky, that's all. She lied, nobody buying it for a second. Please send those to my phone, Yuzu. Surziches will be very proud that Rias finally kissed her crush. Said Grafia with a passive expression. Issei and Ria's faces were now scarlet red from embarrassment. You guys. I can't believe you would do this. I have to go Issei, I'll call you tomorrow okay? The Gremory heiress yelled before she ran off. As Issei watched her go he felt a hand touch his shoulder. How was it my boy? Your first kiss I mean? Ajuka asked with a sly grin. It was totally awesome. The boy muttered, still in a state of shock. I'm glad you enjoyed your birthday Issei. Now let's get ready for bed, you still have homeschool tomorrow after all. Yes, ma'am. The Sekiryuutei said as he ran off to brush his teeth and take a shower. Half an hour later Issei found himself in bed, playing with his new ring in his fingers. On his nightstand was the picture of his parents framed and the letters right next to them. After about 30 minutes of playing with the ring, the boy passed out. Dreamscape. When Issei woke up again he was in a grassy field. The sky was beautiful, being a reddish peach color full of clouds. Wow Drake, you really outdid yourself this time. Usually you just bring me to mountain terrain surrounded by fire for training. This was not my doing partner. I don't know where we are, but I would never bring you to a place this comfortable. It encourages weakness within warriors. I actually planned on training you in a war zone covered in spikes tonight. How nice, such a shame we couldn't do that tonight. And if you didn't bring me here then who did this certainly can't be a normal dream. I haven't had those since I met you. I say. It can't be, this isn't possible, is it? A sudden voice behind the Sekiryuutei made him jump. He had no idea that someone else was here, he felt no other presence besides his own. Turning around it was Issei's turn to be shocked. What he laid eyes on was a woman who looked just like the one in the pictures of his parents. The woman was tall, with 4 arms, large horns, pointed ears, and a long tail. Not only did she have all the same features, but her eyes were the same rich brown that his own were. She wore a purple breastplate over a long black dress. Mom? My darling Issei, you've gotten so big. The woman said, walking towards him. She raised a hand to run her fingers through his hair. The small gesture made the boy flinch, but he didn't move away. Can I give you a hug? His mother asked with tear-filled eyes. After giving her a slight nod, he felt 4 arms embrace him tightly. Her body was soft and warm to the touch. They said you were dead, is this just a dream? Issei asked with a few tears coming out of his own eyes. I really hope it isn't. His mother said. Issei reciprocated the hug and soon the mother and son were hugging and crying in each other's arms. After they finally calmed down, Issei was sitting in his mother's lap asking her hundreds of questions and telling her about his life and friends. The pair were seated in a gazebo that appeared out of nowhere when Mickey waved a hand. How are you here right now when you're gone in the real world? How long have you been here? I've been thinking about that for a while now. I'm not sure how long I've been here, time feels different here than outside. My estimate is around a few years. As for how I'm here I'm not quite sure. My guess is that when my physical body died, my soul was put into Elysium. Elysium? Oh, that's the name of the Guandao your father gave me. He's not that great at naming weapons. Anyway, Elysium is a custom-made sacred gear that can take the form of a ring. It has the power to merge with the soul of whoever it belongs to. Wait a second. Dad could make sacred gears. Well yeah, he was the right-hand angel to God after all. He helped him make and produce most of them. The only thing he couldn't do was put legendary beast souls into them like God could. But somehow my soul ended up entwined in Elysium. Not that I'm complaining because that means I get to be with my lovely little Issei. I know this question is kind of a bummer, but do you know who killed you both? Mickey grimaced at the question, seemingly having a bad memory. Crucerius Modius. He was always bitter after I got with Goru. He wasn't alone when he did it, but I can't remember any of his accomplices. I remember it being very surprising however because he was with an archangel when he attacked us. But that's all I can recall. Issei felt a bit guilty for bringing up such bad memories, but the curiosity ate at him for years now. He knew whoever did that to his parents would undoubtedly try to do the same to him too. Let's change the topic, shall we? I have a question for you, Issei. Who is Rias Gremory? The question made the Sekiryuutei's face go as red as his namesake. She's just a friend, that's all. But we did kiss today, or rather she kissed me. I don't know what it means, it all happened so fast. Oh, that's so cute. My son has a crush, young love is so adorable. She hugged him once more. Mom? Can we please just talk about something else? Like what, sweetie? I do want to know what my demonic powers are for one. Every time I ask Auntie Yuzu she gets all red in the face and says she'll tell me when I'm older. Miki laughed, bringing up one of her hands to cover her face. So she still hasn't told you yet. Well, you're in for a surprise, darling. The Asmodeus clan, the original one anyway, is known for being the devils of lust and desire. So their power is very similar. Tantric empowerment, or sex empowerment as some call it, is a magic that allows you to gain strength and abilities from being with someone else. Issei's jaw dropped to the ground and Drake started laughing heavily. It suddenly made sense why his aunt and uncle would never explain it to him. So you're saying, from doing that, I will be able to use my demonic abilities? Yup. That's why I can do this. Holding out her hand, Miki created a heart from golden light. I have your father's magic, which is called Holy Light of Creation. It allows the user to create different constructs out of light, being the exact opposite of the Bale clan of destruction. Wow. I didn't know I could do all that. Yup. That's the reason we look the way we do. Not all Asmodeus clan members receive the power, but the ones who do have our devilish appearance. Don't ask me why, because I don't even know the answer to that. And pretty soon when you and that Rias Gremory girl do it, you'll be able to use the power of destruction as well. Mom? We're only 10 and 11 years old. Oh, relax, darling, I started when I was 16. I can't listen to this anymore. Issei got up from his mother's lap and ran off. Issei, come back, sweetie. It's just a part of life, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Miki said, running after her son. End of the here. So that's it for today's video, guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.